PPR, Devonta Smith, Mike Williams, Dobbins, Homer, or Leonard Fournette. How bad is the cornerback that's covering both Smith and Williams? Good question. Devonta Smith and Mike Williams have really, really plus matchups. So these are the only two players out of the five that I'm in this, except for the fact that you need a running back. Of Dobbins, Homer, or Leonard Fournette, I'm probably leaning Travis Homer. I am not expecting Leonard Fournette to play. He didn't practice on Friday per the reports that I read. Maybe those have changed and maybe the trends have changed, and maybe we'll get clarity during this live stream of whether Leonard Fournette is expected to play or not. But I'm not expecting him to play. And even if he does play, San Francisco has a 43% run block advantage of their defensive line over Tampa Bay's offensive line. That's projections per PFF. San Francisco also allows the fewest rush yards per game at 56.9, and they allow the fewest fantasy points for running backs in half PPR. So that's a really, really negative matchup. If you are new or if you like the answers that I'm giving, make sure you're hitting that red subscribe button. It really helps the channel. And for a running back who would be splitting if Leonard Fournette is active, I'm fine with firing up Rachaad White as a running back too, due to the volume and due to the pass catching. But I think that it's going to be Travis Homer out of those three. I think he's the best bet to get workload in full PPR. In the games where Travis Homer gets double-digit touches, he averages 5.5 receptions per game. So in full PPR, like, how are you going to argue with an automatic 8 or 9 points out of receptions for your running back and sprinkle in a little bit more rushing for Homer? I think that's fine. Yeah, I don't know what to necessarily expect from J.K. Dobbins except for what we've seen in the past, which is them tempering the Baltimore Ravens coaching staff tempering his usage his first game back. So if I'm picking a running back, it's going to be Travis Homer. And then if I'm picking a wide receiver, Devonta Smith or Mike Williams, this is a tough one because both of them have really nice matchups. Devonta Smith and Mike Williams both are at a 91% or higher advantage per PFF's wide receiver versus cornerback coverage grades. 50% for reference is average, so 91% for Devonta Smith, 100% for Mike Williams. And like, when you get to 85% or higher in my book, like, it's all the same. It's all elite upside. And so the difference between 91 and 100 really doesn't matter for me. So that's not going to sway me one way or the other toward each other. But this game total is really, really interesting for the Chargers versus Miami. I think the only concern I have about Mike Williams versus Devonta Smith is it is his first game coming back from the injury. So I am hedging a little bit that the Chargers may temper a little bit of the expectations. Williams has jumped to the wide receiver 38 in consensus. I have Mike Williams at wide receiver 24 for the week. Right now, we've seen elite ceilings against plus matchups. Williams was able to torch Seattle, Cleveland, and Kansas City as being at least a top 9 wide receiver in half PPR in those games. But Mike Williams also went out against Kansas City after, in his second matchup in week 11, 1 reception for 11 yards with that re-aggravation. So I think I'm starting Devonta Smith because we know what we're going to get out of Devonta Smith, and that is a lot of volume. 5 of the last 6 games for Devonta Smith, at least 8 targets. Okay, and he's finished as the wide receiver 29 or better in 3 of the last 4 games. He's finished as a wide receiver 29 or better. Double-digit fantasy points in half PPR, 3 of the last 4 games. So against the Giants, I'm not worried about the Giants being a tough matchup. Individually, Devonta Smith is projected to torch. So give me Devonta Smith slightly over Mike Williams. Does Mike Williams have a higher ceiling? I think that's debatable. Like, Devonta Smith has finished as the wide receiver 1, 10, and 15 as his 3 highest ceiling games, whereas Mike Williams this year, yes, in fewer games, but Mike Williams has had a finish as the wide receiver 9, the wide receiver 8, and the wide receiver 6. So I think that you're still getting access to elite ceiling with Devonta Smith. You've got a plus matchup. You know what you're going to get. So I'm leaning Devonta Smith over Mike Williams. And then if you need to pick a running back, Homer is my pick there.